is 3.7. It's on transformations of absolute value functions. So our vocabulary for the day. First, reminder of what is an absolute value. It is the distance from 0. So for example, if I am taking the absolute value of 2 minus 5, I get the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. All right? Reminder again of what are the transformations that we've been studying. Translations, which are slides. Reflections, which are flips. And then we have stretches and shrinks. All right, today we'll be looking at a particular type of graph. It's called absolute value function. And we'll start by picking the values that we normally pick for our domain. I'm going to plug each one of them in. So, putting negative 1 in for our absolute value. Absolute value of negative 1 is 1. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Absolute value of 1 is 1. And the absolute value of 2 is 2. Seems pretty straightforward, yeah? So now we'll come over and we will create a graph of that. Putting up an x-axis and a y-axis. We'll plot those values. Again, here's our x-axis and here's our y-axis, also known as f of x. So if we come back 1, the first dot we have to put is positive 1. Okay, then we look at 0, 0. And 1, 1. And 2, 2. Now if I join these dots, I can see that the pattern is going this way. I'm not too sure about the pattern on the left. So I'm going to pick one more point, negative 2. Again, plugging negative 2 in for x. I get the absolute value of that is 2. I now can see that the pattern to the left is actually going in this direction. So I'm going to describe the shape of this graph. We typically call it a V-shape. And it's important that you find a special point in this V-shape. It is called the vertex. And you can see that the vertex is right there. It's where the bounce occurs, okay? So put a special dot, circle on that spot. All right. Now we'll come down to one more example. We'll graph again using the table, and then we'll describe the transformation that occurred. Again, we'll start by picking our normal domain values, and we plug each one of them in. This is going to take a little bit of work. So again, I'll plug in negative 1. I subtract 2. I get negative 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. Doing this again, this time I'm plugging in 0 for the same problem. 0 minus 2 gives me negative 2. The absolute value of that is 2. I'm starting to see a pattern show up. I plug in 1. I get the absolute value of negative 1, which last time I checked is 1. Plug in 2. and we get 0. And so I say, okay, let's create the graph of this. And let's see if we can't see that V shape that we built on the last graph. And if I go back 1, I go up 3. At 0, I'm at 2, 1, 1, 2, 0. And I don't see the bounce. In this case, we have to pick some more values. And my hunch is, do I pick -2, a value over here, or do I pick a value larger than 2? And it's pretty much a guess at this point. I'm going to try 3. I plug in 3 minus 2. What is the absolute value of 3 minus 2? That's 1. So the absolute value of that is 1. So when I come out to 3, I've got to jump up to 1, and now I see the V starting to take shape. So it's going to go in this direction and in this direction. Now I'm going to step back and describe the transformation that occurred between these two graphs. Okay? I see my first graph. The V shape bounced at the origin on the x-axis. This graph bounced to the right of the origin. Notice how far it was away from the origin. So this graph here had a translation to the right 2 units. Okay? And that's kind of what your homework assignments are, to create some graphs and describe the translations. Good luck. Hope it goes well.